Good evening, I am Mr. Ish. We are continuing with these useful videos on subject matter topics that you see in math exams, be they standardized or your regular class exams. Trigonometric equations is the subject of this specific video. Before we start, these are some of the particulars you need to know. With regards to angles in radians, you need to know the 30-degree angles, and these happen to be 30, 150, 210 and 330, but you need to know these in the radian format. 30 is your pi over 6, 150 is your 5 pi over 6, 210 is 7 pi over 6, and 330 is 11 pi over 6. These are what I call your pi over 6 angles. Then you need to know the 60-degree angles, and they happen to be 60, 120, 240 and 300. Of course, everything with regards to reference horizontals. 60 will be pi over 3. These are your over 3 angles. Pi over 3, 2 pi over 3, 4 pi over 3 and 5 pi over 3. Lastly, the 45-degree angles, because these pop up in these trigonometric equations. Knowing these is an excellent shortcut. These are your 45, 135, 225 and 315 degrees, but in radian formats it's pi over 4, 3 pi over 4, 5 pi over 4 and 7 pi over 4. Of course, you can add to these some of the other angles. We know 0 degrees, 360 degrees is 2 pi, 90 degrees is pi over 2, 180 degrees is pi, and 270 is 3 pi over 2. But if you were to memorize these particular angles, it would help you a lot in these type of questions. So the first question is this: you have to find the value of x. In this equation, 2 tan square x plus 1 equals 3, given the domain 0, 2 pi, including 0 but up to and not including 2 pi. How do you go about doing this? It's algebra, but disguised in the form of trigonometry. So for this tan square component, take the 1 on the other side, you get 2. Take the 2 on the other side, you get equals to a 1. 2 divided by 2 is a 1. Take the square on the other side, tan x is equal to plus and minus root 1, which is just you get a root of 1, which is plus and minus 1. Alright, because 1 square and minus 1 square give you that 1. And then take the tan on the other side, you get arctan or inverse tan of this plus and minus 1. And what can that be? These have to be your 45-degree angles. And the 45-degree angles are the positive and the minus with respect to those reference horizontals. If you did 45 from a 0, you'd get a 45 degree. This right here is your pi over 4. If you did 45 less than 360, you'd get your 315. This here will be your 7 pi over 4. If you did 45 degrees above 180, meaning you subtracted it from 180, you'd get your 135, which would be your 3 pi over 4. If you did 45 degrees above and added to 180, you'd get your other 45-degree angle, and that would be your 5 pi over 4. You could have written this in order: pi over 4, 3 pi over 4, 5 pi over 4 and 7 pi over 4, but the question is not done. You actually have to plug each of these into this equation and make sure everything checks out, and that's a very crucial step in these type of questions. In all instances it'll work out, because even the negative angles here, because tangent is positive in only 2 quadrants, 1 and 3, and it's negative in quadrants number 2 and 4, even these right here would become positive by means of this square, and everything would check out. You'll always have 2 plus 1 and they'll give you 3. So each of these answers over here is correct, and you have to account for all of them. Since we're always looking at doubles in each video, 2 questions, let's make this the last one. We can always look at more of these for additional practice in the very near future. Here, the best thing to do is isolate. Isolate a cosine x, and you have 2 cosine x minus 1 is equal to 0. Separate this into 2 separate components. Cosine x is equal to 0 and 2 cosine x minus 1 is equal to 0. Individually solve these out. If cosine x is equal to 0, x is equal to inverse cosine of 0, which means what? What angle, if you were to cosine it, you would get a 0. Those would be your 90-degree angles, pi over 2 and 3 pi over 2, meaning 90 and 270. What about here? 2 cosine x is equal to 1, cosine x is equal to 1 over 2, and x is equal to inverse cosine of this 1 over 2. What angle, if you were to cosine it, would you get a half? And not just half, it has to be a positive half. There are 2 versions. There are 2 of these solutions. Cosine is positive in terms of the first and the fourth quadrant, and that would be a 60-degree angle. you'd get a pi over 3 which is 60 degrees, and you get 5 pi over 3 which is 300 degrees. So these are your two answers, 60 degrees and 300 degrees. Always good to present answers in both radian and degree format. You should check each of these. You put 90 in here and work it through. When you do 90 cosine, you'll get a 0. 0 minus 0 is 0, so 90 works out for sure. Likewise, if you put 270, you'll 0 and you'll 0 equals 0, they'll work out. Now you have to put 60 in here. Do 60 cosine, square it, times 2 minus 60 cosine, and you get a 0. So 60 degrees works out, and you have to do 300 also. You get a 0 and these work out. So all of these are good answers. Do not make the mistake here of putting negative 1 or 2. The minus 60 answers for cosine, which would have been 120 and 240, because they would be wrong and they would error you out. You have 4 possible solutions here, and they're all circled over here, and they're all the good answers. And with that, we end this video. Thank you for watching. Keep coming back and watching my videos. Have a nice day.